It's well known that pickleball has become more and more powerful over the last few years, but there's one player that takes this power and spin to a completely different level. His name is Quang Duong, and as you can see, he pretty much just uses tennis technique on the pickleball court. Despite recently being cut from the PPA and MLP, before this, he was taking the pickleball world by storm with his unorthodox technique and unique playing style. So in this video, I'm gonna break down each of his shots, and I'm gonna show you how you can apply what works for him to your own game. I highly recommend watching this full video because he does some pretty cool stuff that'll be fun for you to try on the courts. But guys, before we talk about Quang Duong, I wanted to announce that today marks the launch of our new paddle, the Gen 4.5. This paddle has a first of its kind foam core that has these little air cells that trap the air on one side of the paddle when you hit the ball, and this gives you more pop. Pretty much, it makes easy shots way easier to put away, and it makes counterattacks more effortless without taking away the benefits of foam, which are increased dwell time and a better feel. If you clicked on this video looking for more power, spin, or pop, getting a paddle like this could make a bigger difference than even your technique. We've been designing this paddle for over a year, and in doing so, we were able to make it the most affordable foam paddle on the market. Its starting price is $175, but if you use code FOAM, it takes it down to $155. This is well over $100 cheaper than other high-end paddles. If you guys have followed us for a long time, this is our biggest launch to date, so we'd really appreciate it if you went and checked it out. All right, guys, now let's talk about Quang Duong, okay? The most distinct part of Quang Duong's game is how he hits his ground strokes like he is a tennis player. So he has a very, very semi-Western grip, which I'll show you in a second, and he uses a two-handed backhand like that. So he almost never does one hand, which is something that you'll notice throughout the video. And he also really prefers to use drives from the back of the court. So it sort of looks something like that. I hope that's a good impersonation of him. Let me know in the comments if I'm doing a good job. But let me show you the grip up close. So guys, Quang Duong holds his forehand grip in a semi-Western or Western grip. So most people call this the semi-Western or the Western. It's where this knuckle is on this notch here. So if you're a righty, it's the notch right to the right of this big one in the center. So he's holding it here. This is a semi-Western grip, okay? If you're holding it here, this is an Eastern. So this is where most players hold their forehand. They're either here in an Eastern or here in a continental. So Quang Duong said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be holding it in a semi-Western grip. This is actually the most common for tennis. So in tennis, most players do this because you can hit more spin with it and you have strings to grab the ball. So it's definitely more challenging to do this in pickleball. I don't necessarily recommend it for a majority of players. I'll show you though how you can make use of something like this to get more spin in a little bit. On his backhand, he has a pretty normal grip. So he's not doing anything too crazy on a backhand. He just uses a two-hander. So what he does is he has a continental with his right hand. This is standard. And then with his left hand, he sort of just has it on the back of the paddle like this. So nothing too crazy here. He just gets a lot of spin because of his technique, which I'll show you now. So guys, what this grip does is when you're hitting forehands with the semi-Western grip, you just naturally get more spin. So if you have a paddle, see, it's kind of hard to use, but if you have a paddle that naturally grips the ball, it's almost impossible to use a semi-Western grip without catching it and getting a ton of spin. So on an Eastern, I can still get spin, but I have to do a lot more of a brush to get the spin. So should you use a semi-Western grip on your forehand? I think 99% of players should not have this grip. What you can do is if you have a continental or an Eastern, you can try to go a little bit towards it and see if it's natural for you. See if you get more spin with this grip on your forehand. And if you do, you can use that on your drives and it'll make the ball dip down more. So when Quang Duong hits his third shot forehand drive, it has so much spin that it dips down at his opponent's feet and he can move forward. So you want to be getting more spin. You don't need to have the semi-Western grip though. I don't think if you're watching this, it's probably not right for you. Give it a shot, maybe adjust it a little bit, but you need to be comfortable with it. If you're not comfortable with this grip, don't force it. That could make your forehand have a lot of problems in the long run. Maybe slightly adjust it and see if you get more spin. If not though, don't worry about it. There's tons of good players that use the Eastern grip, tons of pro players, and they do very well and they get a lot of spin. On his two-hander, he has a normal grip for a two-hander as I mentioned, but he really brushes up on the ball and he goes over it a lot, which gives him that crazy spin. So he can really do a drive very well on both sides. So he hits his two-hander like this and he sucks the ball down. So it really looks unique. Kind of like a tennis, kind of like a Djokovic backhand in tennis. He really gets the ball down. His drops, when he does do them, are kind of like this. So he pretty much just rolls up the back of the ball with his normal ground stroke technique. He does like a two-hander every time, and he almost always uses topspin on his drops. So he only really is slicing the drops when he's out of position, as I mentioned. And that gives him the ability to hit a more aggressive drop. He also misses a lot of drops because of this, but when he makes it in, it's really easy for him to move forward because it's so aggressive. So most pros actually are starting to use more topspin drops than slices. So this is something you can definitely take away. You don't need to be using his crazy technique though. You can go for topspin drops with your Eastern grip or with your continental grip like this. It's a lot harder to make a topspin drop if you're not someone that has this shot down, but it is very effective and it's just an easy way to get an advantage as you're coming in. A lot of players at the 3 or 4 level will not be used to this. So if you haven't tried topspin drops, you don't need to do the crazy Quang one, but you can come in and use your normal grip and it's going to be very effective if you can get this down. It's just a little tricky to get it at first. So now guys, I'm gonna show you how Quang dinks, which is very, very distinct from other players. But before that, I wanna stop in the transition zone because Quang does something very, very unique here that seems to be becoming more and more common in 2025. And that is attacking from the transition zone. So after he hits his drives and his drops from the back of the court, usually it's a drive, he usually comes to this area right here. And when you get here, your opponent's job is to hit it at your feet, right? And what most players do here is they go for a soft reset so they can move forward. But what Quang does is if he's in this area and he gets anything above the height of his knees, he's gonna attack. So he's gonna go for something like that. And he uses his same grip. On his backhand, he uses a two-hander and he just rips it and tries to move in. So this is not a smart play for most people, but he's very quick. So he's very fast, which is another characteristic of his game. So he can get in, sorry Drew, and he can try to get the next ball back. And he can also do a very good job of attacking from the transition zone. So what can you learn from how Quang plays in the transition zone? Well, if you have easy shots here, you don't need to just reset it because you think you're supposed to. You shouldn't be going for as many aggressive shots as Quang does. He's very good at it and it takes a lot of speed to make it work consistently. But if you get something above your waist height here, don't be afraid to just attack, right? Like you can come in and attack, and if they're not ready for it, it's a good way to surprise them. And you can use your normal grip. You don't have to have a two-handed backhand if you're not comfortable with it. You can do it with one hand too. And it's just a good way to take your opponents off guard. Do not attack from the transition zone every time, but when the opportunity does present itself with a higher, easier shot, you can make it work. Looking at Quang's dinks, when he's up here, he's also using almost primarily topspin on every single shot. So he's usually on the left side, and he has a two-handed backhand dink. So he kind of looks like this, and he uses a really, really exaggerated motion where he kind of like almost does a full stroke, but from the kitchen. And he hits probably the hardest dinks of any player that I've ever seen. So he's really going for hard dinks cross court with his backhand. And even when he's hitting a slower dink, he still uses topspin. So on his forehand, which he hits less because he's the left side player, he kind of goes under it and uses that same motion to cup under it like this. So his grip at the kitchen does seem to be a little bit more towards Eastern. He doesn't have that full semi-Western up here, but he still goes for crazy amounts of topspin. So his dinking looks like this. And because he hits it so hard, I would say he does get more pop-ups than a lot of players when he hits it well, because most players just aren't used to playing someone who dinks this hard. So should you be dinking like this? If you don't have the two-handed backhand down, you don't need to. But going for aggressive topspin dinks is a great way to take advantage of players that don't have the ability to respond to it. So if I hit a good two-handed backhand topspin dink, Drew might pop it up and I can speed up. So Quang, when he's up here, he speeds up a lot. So he might have a lower shot, he doesn't care. He's gonna accelerate and start a firefight, in which he sort of uses his two-handed backhand as his main counter-attacking weapon. So he goes from two hands to his forehand, and he's going such crazy topspin and spin that he wins a lot of these firefights. But guys, when Quang is playing a player like Ben Johns, he usually loses in doubles because this aggressive style is not really the best way to play yet, right? Maybe in the future it will be, maybe in 2030 this is gonna be how everyone plays. But as for now, the best players in the world, Quang is not top 10 in doubles. He wasn't one of the very best players. They all play with more slice, with more dinks. His game is very unique. There are things you can learn from it, but there are downsides. So should you play as aggressive as Quang? Probably not. You're probably better off playing more so like Ben Johns, like Gabe Tardio, any of these other players that have a more standard style of play. But there are some great takeaways that if you add that power and spin to certain aspects of your game, you're gonna play way better. And if you guys like this video, make sure to subscribe below and give us a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We really appreciate it.